This is the May Mobility and goMARTI autonomous driving vehicle, and the base of the vehicle is just a Toyota Sienna minivan. However, it's heavily modified by May Mobility in order to do what it does, which is drive in autonomous mode, where the car is actually driving itself, which is pretty incredible. It's got not only the wheelchair function in the back, so we can load wheelchair needs passengers. It's ADA compliant, but the technology is what makes it unique and makes it special. If you look around the outside of the car, you're going to see what we call ouster packs or sensor packs, and each one has a mix of laser or LiDAR, it has radar, and it also has a visual camera. And we've got 5 of these, so you'll see one on the side, the front, the other side, the back, and then a beefier, bigger version of the same thing up top. These ones have multiple lasers that are always spinning around, and the top, it's called the Velodyne Sensor. It has over 100 lasers that are constantly spinning around to get data. What that does is it forms a digital picture of everything going on around the car at any given time. It's using the radar, the LiDAR, and the visual cameras to localize or know where it is on its route, but then also to sense the different things that are going on around us. That could be another car that might be passing in front of us. It could be a person walking in front of us. I've even seen the car stop for deer. I've been behind the wheel and operating one of these, and at dusk, we all know what it's like in Grand Rapids. Those deer come out and cross your path. The car used that whole host of sensors to recognize the deer coming in front. The car knew to slow down, and it slowed down, and it probably did a better job than I would have done if I were just driving myself. It was able to use all those sensors to sense the deer crossing the path and actually slowed down and stopped so that the deer could cross safely. So it uses all of those sensors all the time. Now, also what makes it unique is we have a technology that's always going when these are running, and it's called multi-policy decision making. What that means is the car is running different policies as hypothetical events, which basically means it's wondering what could happen in any given circumstance. It's always simulating, do we think this car is coming in front of us? Do we think traffic is coming from this way? Do we think we're too close to a curb? Do we think we're too close to the center line? And then it runs a simulation of all of that to determine what the safest outcome is. At May Mobility, we put safety as our #1 priority. So all of this technology is designed to make sure that we're behaving safe above anything else. So all of the sensors helps us with that. Not only do we have all the sensors, but we also pre-map a route. So in Grand Rapids, we have almost 70 stops that are predetermined, but what you don't see is in the digital side of our route in the computer, there's a fixed course that's considered the route that the car should drive on, and it uses all of this technology to know where that route is and then make decisions on how to stay on it and how to keep going on that route. So we drive on that fixed route. I'll show you inside as well, and this part's super cool. So I told you that this is basically a Toyota Sienna minivan. It is, but we have what's called an ADK, or an autonomous driving kit, and this is what's riding in the passenger seat instead of a typical passenger. So instead of that, we've got a whole host of computer gear, network routing gear, and batteries to power it all, so that it can run that simulation multiple times every second, so the car can make decisions when it's driving in autonomy. When this thing fires up, you hear all of its fans going, and it sounds like a big computer, and then it actually quiets down and it gets pretty quiet for the rider, so it's nice and comfortable when they're riding in the car. In the back of the van, we've got 2 captain's chairs, and we can also take a wheelchair passenger in the back of the van as well. One of the questions we get all the time is how are these going to handle the extreme winter, and we all know it's coming. And the answer that I like to give is we will handle it with unbridled enthusiasm. Part of what we're doing in town here is testing this technology to make sure it works not just in ideal conditions but in tough conditions. So we're deploying our service in Grand Rapids, Minnesota, intentionally knowing that the weather is going to put up challenges for us. We're excited excited to collect the data on what happens in the snow, what happens in extreme cold. This is the first time this technology's been tested this far north and in this extreme of conditions. So we're excited to get that data. Now, from the rider's perspective, everyone's wondering, well, what if the snow covers the sensors, or what if it doesn't know what to do? What's awesome about the technology is that the car defaults to the safest thing to do. If the car ever doesn't know what's going on, it defaults to a safe policy, which would be something like slowing down, pulling over, coming to a stop safely when it's safe to do so. That being said, when there's heavy weather and there's you know, the really sticky kind of snow that we know we're going to get, if it covers the cameras or the sensors, we might need to drive the car in manual at times. Another thing I love about this technology is we can always switch to manual mode in the car so that we can drive safely. Even if every sensor on the car gets covered with something, the driver is always behind the wheel and they can take over so that they can safely drive. If you or I could safely drive the car on the streets, this car can drive safely on the street. So we always have a human to intervene to decide if it's going to be safe. Now, there'll be days when nobody's on the road and we wouldn't be either. We wouldn't be forcing the issue. But in terms of what will the car do if the weather's too extreme, we can always switch to manual while we collect data on what the sensors do, so that we can make the technology better for the entire planet. When you're seeing the cars driving on routes and you see that it's autonomous, you're thinking there's probably no driver in there, it's just a computer that drives it. The car is driving autonomously, but we do have what's considered driver-in autonomy. Now, there's 5 levels of autonomy that you can achieve. Level 1 is just like really basic stuff like cruise control in a car. Level 5 would be the car is completely in control and there's no human present at all. Level 4 is where we sit right now and where this deployment sits for Grand Rapids, Minnesota. We have level 4 autonomy, which is a high-functioning autonomy. It means the car is capable of making complex decisions on its own, but we still do have a driver in at all times, so that if the driver ever feels that they're uncomfortable with something or they feel like they want to maybe report something back to base that was a little bit different than what they expected, the driver can always take over at any time. And they can take over by using the steering wheel. They have their feet hovering over the pedals at all times, so they're over the brake and over the gas. And what's really neat about that is your driving instincts, they work in this. The car's driving itself, but if I feel I need to swerve out of the way of a squirrel and my instinct tells me to do that, by just turning the wheel, I'm taking over the car. So in an instant, the driver can take over for those different things. If they feel like they want to slow down because the car is coming to a stop sign, it's maybe getting there a little bit quicker than they'd like, all it takes is tapping the brake and then they're in control. Same thing with the gas. If they feel like someone's coming up behind them and it looks unsafe, they can always use the gas to get out of the way too. So we've combined high-functioning autonomy with driver in so that we have the ultimate balance of safety, because safety is our top priority. Another thing I love about this project is that May Mobility created 23 local jobs, and we hired locally, and the drivers are all local people that were hired to work on this project. So those people know the route, they know the town, they know what's safe, and when the riders book rides and get out there, they're going to meet those folks and they'll be able to hear from them, and just give it a try. I would also tell people that might be thinking, hey, I don't need a ride because I have my own vehicle. I would say still take a ride and just try it, because the technology is interesting, it's cool, and nobody's trying to take away your keys or your truck. The point here is to provide options. We're not telling anybody that eventually there won't be people driving their own cars. No one's saying that. What we are saying is we can supplement what's already here with more options and help people that do need rides We also aim to make the service so good that people that don't even need rides want to try it and they want to experience it. Me personally, I have my own truck, but it guzzles gas. I'm excited to just come into town, park my truck, and use this service to run my errands. Why would I need to pay for gas if I could just use a great driving shuttle program and drive around and run my errands? So I'm excited for people to try it for all kinds of different reasons.